Everybody, welcome back to Real Reds Talk. This is your transfer show. Lots to get into today, so we're trying not to spend too much time on it. It's me, it's Shreyas. Nick is still lost somewhere in the air, I think, from Amsterdam. I believe he might be landing at any point, but he will be back tomorrow if you're sick of my face. Shreyas, first of all, how are we? And second of all, is that the new United kit or is that the old one?
It's the old one. It's the
Ah,
old one.
shame.
It's
Okay.
the old one. Yeah, yeah. The new one will. The cricket shirt will be here soon.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. How are we? We good?
Yeah, we're doing fairly well. The Euros are on, so at least we've got some football to actually catch up on.
Yes, and it's not United absolutely making us pull our hair out. Although it is England making us pull our hair out if you're an England fan like
Yeah,
me. So
yeah.
yeah, that's not fun. But yeah, Netherlands, I believe, are 1-0 up at the moment against Romania. So if that does change, we will let you know. Shout out to everybody in the chat: Jamie Grogan, Richard Hawkins, My Damn United, Kiara, everybody else, whoever in on chat. Shout out to you guys. It's nice to see you. Nice to see everybody in the chat as always. All right, let's get into the first story. We're going to focus on the possible outs. Brian Casey as well. Shout out to Brian Casey. Sorry, forgot you, Brian. Most important. Outs. Marcus Rashford. Big story that came out today regarding Marcus Rashford. Manchester United have not ruled out the possibility of allowing Marcus Rashford to leave amid a possible adjustment to the player's representation. It is understood Rashford's brother, Dwayne Maynard, who I believe represents him at the current minute, has held discussions with an agency to potentially assist in managing the Man United forward. Man United sources insist their preference would be to keep Marcus Rashford and help him regain his form. However, the club have not dismissed the possibility of allowing Rashford to leave after his relationship deteriorated with Eric Ten Hag last season. This is from Samuel Luckhurst, so take it with a pinch of salt
Of
because
course,
we know how
of
much he likes
course,
to
of
spread
course.
bullshit.
Yeah.
But when Graham Bailey, who I believe was on the MUFC MPB YouTube channel today, he has come with PSG are ready to move for Marcus Rashford as soon as they get any positivity from the player's side towards a move. United are ready to sell Rashford if PSG showing a willingness to do a deal. The player could be open to moving on. Rashford's relationship with Ten Hag has been strained, blah, blah, blah. So they're the two stories regarding Marcus Rashford. There's nothing concrete in there, I would say, to say he's definitely leaving, but there's definitely been left the door open to be the possibility. Obviously, at the beginning of the season, Ineos said everybody's available apart from Mainu, Garnacho, Hoyland, Onana, and Lissandro. Everybody else is basically, if a bid comes in, you could fucking go. Thoughts on
Yeah.
this, Shreyas? Is there anything in this for you, or is it just like sort of gerrymandering to get sort of stuff going, or do you think maybe there's something like Rashford's asked his brother to go see what's out there, see if there's someone interested?
It could be that. It genuinely could be that scenario as well. But I just don't think PSG will be coming in for him because they've all obviously they've got the likes of Marcus Rashford to replace as it is, then Kylian Mbappe to replace
Yes.
as it is, and then Rashford coming in would mean I don't think United would be selling him for less than about 70-75
No.
million, even regardless of the season he's had. That's the minimum that United
And his
will be looking to
wages.
accept as an offer. And then exactly, and then on top of that, 320 grand per week for a player like Marcus Rashford who's not had as much as great of a season. PSG don't do these sort of deals. Like, and with the kind of deals that PSG have been doing in the past few seasons, they've been looking at a lot of youngsters who are supposedly supposed to be the next big thing. And when they make these sort of signings, the signings of Rashford's category, they go in with people who are consistent finished articles. They don't go in for players who you look and then you go see that on their day. They don't go in for players who fit in the on their day category. They bring in consistent players.
They go best
That's
in
why
the world, don't they? They go
exactly.
Neymar, they go
That's why
Messi, they go Mbappe,
exactly.
best in
Yeah,
the world.
Mbappe. Yeah, and apart from that, if you see the other players that they've gone with, Fabian Ruiz, finished article. Vitinha, young prodigy. Joao Neves, they're targeting really strongly, supposed to be the next prodigy. Zaire Emery is supposedly the next prodigy.
Xavi
Same case for
Simmons.
Xavi Simmons. Exactly. So that's the kind of system that they're developing in PSG right now, and they're much more strongly linked with the likes of Osimhen right now. And I would say that if, considering the funds that PSG have, if they had to make a choice between Osimhen and Marcus Rashford right now, they would hands down go with Osimhen because proven striker, consistent striker, and coming off, I would still say a relatively much better season than what Rashford's had. So I think even if Rashford does leave, maybe he does end up leaving, I don't think PSG is going to be the destination for him.
The problem is, like you said, you just mentioned the money there that it's going to take to get him and the wages. There isn't anybody really else out there, is there, who can afford A, the price tag, and B, the wages that I can think of. Like
Exactly.
PSG, Chelsea, because they're mental, as we were talking about off channel. City and Saudi is probably the only destinations who can afford him. He's not going to
And I
City.
think
He's a Man United fan. I'm
and
like, it's not
that
happening.
scenario is better for him. Yeah, it's better for him to stay, and he's still got a big hefty contract which runs for multiple seasons right now. So right now he's not really in a position where he needs to go and think that I need to leave United at all costs. It's genuinely not a situation like that. So I just think this is all paper talk. This is just the the rumors that we keep on hearing around the club, because people have seen that the relation between Ten Hag and Rashford hasn't been as great as it was in Ten Hag's first season. So it's they're just nitpicking across stories, because as from what I've heard, Rashford is on a specific training program. Apparently,
Yes.
they're trying to build him up once again, and not going to the Euros actually helped him out with that. So might be conflicting stories, and I think by the time pre-season actually kicks on, that's when the entirety of the picture will actually come through.
Yeah, it might be normally the sort of routine with Rashford is if he has like a summer with the Euros or he don't get a break, the next season he's shit. And that happened, didn't
Yeah,
it? We had the prolonged World Cup, and then because the season ended up finishing later, the preseason then started, and the shitty tour that we went on, and he had a shit season after a really good season. This summer, he's getting an actual break, super long break. He's not gone to the Euros. He's able to get a holiday, rest, recuperate. So maybe you see the best of him next season, and he goes on. Maybe he doesn't score 30 goals, which I think is a
I'm
tough
not
ask.
saying I wouldn't say that Rashford is someone who's supposedly the reliable forward in our team. I wouldn't say that. Even if he ends up having one of the best seasons of his career, like he ends up getting a 30-goal season again, I would still say he's not a reliable player. He is someone who can be one of the best wingers in the league when he is in form, but he's not someone that you can bank on season after season, week after week, because consistency has been something that Rashford has struggled throughout his career at United. There have been a lot of moments where people have gone and said that he's supposedly the future. He's supposed to be the leader of that attacking line, but whenever that opportunity has come, he's just never taken it. So I hope he does manage to recover, get his confidence back, regain his fitness, and by the time the next season kicks in, he starts firing in goals. I wish him the absolute best, but I think Rashford as a future player for United, I think his role needs to be revised. He's not as a leader of this attack. I don't think that it's going to work out for him.
No.
But as a player, with experience, who can bring in goals and who can bring in, I would say, a lot more instinct on that left hand side. Maybe there's a future for him in that perspective. But I
Yeah.
don't think that he can be the future of the team when it comes to being that leader or focal point in the attack.
Yeah, I'm gonna get into the comments on this as well because people are like talking
Yep.
about it quite a bit. But yeah, the last thing I wanted to touch on Rashford is I agree with you. I think everybody was expecting him to step up to the plate because he's a Manchester
Yeah,
born lad, academy prospect, scored 30 goals. Everybody's like, right, here we go. And he hasn't. So I think you're right. You have to revise that sort of thing. And I think we all relied on him that last season, not the season just gone, but the season before. We relied on him so much. Like if he didn't score goals, we didn't win games. That's where we were at.
exactly.
And
He
he
was the
became
only outlet. He
yeah.
was the only outlet for goals.
And then this season, obviously, we've seen the drop off and the sort of thing. I think much like say Luke Shaw, I think Rashford needs some competition. I think he needs
Yeah,
to be put on his toes and be like, look, you don't perform, you don't play well, you don't play. Garnacho will take your spot, so and so will take your spot, and then he has to like either buck his attitude and put his head down and go, right, I'm gonna get back into his team. Or he'll do what he has done last season where he goes on nights out and he calls in sick, and then his career will end up like sort of
I
dissipating away.
would. I think moving forward into next season, if Ten Hag does decide, I think it will be a very bold move. Might actually not happen, but with Ten Hag, you never really know. Maybe he ends up going with, I'm going to stick with Hoyland, I'm going to stick with Ahmad and Garnacho as my starting front three. Like
Hmm?
this is the front three I want to, actually build up
Yeah.
with, because all three of them have been young. Garnacho, I think Garnacho definitely deserved a rest last season. He played way too many games and way
Yeah,
too
too
many
many.
minutes than he was supposed to. But but I would say getting 10 goals and 5 assists at that age in that United setup, he's got a bright future ahead of him. So maybe Ten Hag, actually looks at it and says that, I've got a setup that might actually, work for the next 7 to 8 seasons. So maybe he ends up investing in those front three players.
And then
So
your
I think,
backups would be like
yeah,
Zirkzee, who we'll get on to. Anthony,
exactly.
unfortunately. I don't want it to be, but let's face it, it's going to be. And then Rashford, you back up on your left, and then you just have to say to Rashford, to Zirkzee, to Anthony, look, if you want to knock these out, you have to outperform them. You
Yeah.
have to be better
And
than them.
ultimately, we actually end up signing wingers. Unfortunately, even though we have got a saturation with wingers, on our plate, every 2 seasons you can see us going for wingers. Every two
Because we've
seasons.
never solved the issue. It's always been like that.
Yeah,
Right wing has been a problem. Like, oh, we thought we solved it with Greenwood, and obviously he fucked his career up. Thought we solved it with Sancho, and he just decided it's not going to work. But Anthony, it's been a failure. Pellistri, I know you like the guy, but he's not the guy. And it's now you've got Ahmad. It's like, okay, is he going to be the one? Is he going to be the answer? It's a
but he
difficult.
deserves minutes for it.
He
I think
definitely
he needs
does. Yeah.
minutes.
Yeah.
If it goes into next season and he doesn't get minutes in the first 5 to 6 games,
Yeah.
then it just goes on to say that Ten Hag doesn't really see him in the big picture.
Yeah. I'll read some comments out and then we'll move on to the next story. Evening, everyone. My damn United sausage, rash, onions, gravy. Sounds like the Sunny deal is cooking too. Decent tea. I like it. Evening from my damn United and Brian. Even to you, lads. Richard Hawkins. I don't know about Rashford. It might be better for him in a club to have a change of scenery. I would want 80 million at least for him. Yeah, I think if we sell him, he has to be 70, 80 million, if not upwards of that.
Yeah.
Great point, Richard. Given he kind of lost the fans this season, he might want to move and feel some love again. If you go into PSG, you ain't going to get that, lad. Like, they are not forgiving fans in Paris, like, at all. Didn't they not find out where Neymar lived, and like 100 people showed up at his house or something?
Yeah. Him and I think Messi as well.
Yeah, so I don't think you feel love. Believe in Samuel Lucas is like believing the sun. Yeah, I agree. I think the wages are going to be a huge thing for Ineos. I agree, mate. I think they're going to look to get the likes of Casemiro and people like that, Sancho, etc. If you haven't already, please hit the likes. Yes, if you're watching, you're not liked the video, you're not subscribed, please do that. That would be amazing. Zirkzee and Frimpong would cover that Rashford hole. Yeah, Frimpong's a weird one, isn't he? Because he's labelled as a fullback, but he's clearly not. He's a winger.
Oh, he's not a fullback.
He's a winger,
nope.
Like he is.
Yeah.
And he is cheap.
He plays as a wing back. Like technically a wing back, but in that Leverkusen side, he's allowed to just bomb forward and play attacking football. He's not. If we end up signing him and people expect him to play the way Dalot does, he's not that sort of a fullback. If we get him, I think he needs to be played out on the wing, or maybe we need to shift to a back five to get the best out of him.
Yeah, thing with Frimpong is I don't know if he works as well outside of the system he's in Leverkusen.
Yeah.
I think you take him out of that, you may not see the same player, but might be wrong. Joshua Niherezera, I'm sorry if I butchered that. Hello everyone, live here in Uganda, but Facundo should join the team as backup. I mean, Shreyas would love that if that's.
I wouldn't mind it.
I don't see it
as a backup. Personally. Definitely, I wouldn't mind it. If it came out that he's going to be on the bench instead of Anthony, I would be much more happier to have him on the bench instead of Anthony.
All right, another couple of outs. Tom Heaton has signed a new 1-year contract at United. I think it's fair enough. He's a third choice goalkeeper. He's not going to play. I mean, Inde is not getting game time, so Tom Heaton definitely isn't getting game time. So there you go. Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Aaron Wan-Bissaka is a number of right backs West Ham are interested in. Manchester United not actively looking to sell him, but doing due diligence in that position, given Wan-Bissaka is in the final year of his deal. There are no talks over extending Aaron Wan-Bissaka's contract. That's from Sky Sports, Dharmesh's Sheth. What do you think, Shreyas? Do we cash in on Aaron Wan-Bissaka now because he's got a year left on his deal, or do we re-up him for like a year or two and keep hold of him and then look next summer for maybe a right back?
I just think this summer we've already got so many positions to fill. Like you've genuinely got to go out and get 2 centre backs. You've got to go out and get a left back. That's 3 players in itself in that defensive line. Then you've got to go in for a midfielder. That's 4, and then you got to go in for a striker. That's 5 players itself, and we've not got enough funds to work with as already. If we sell Wan-Bissaka, you need to replace Wan-Bissaka on top of that. That would be 6 players. I've never seen United, buy 6 players in one window itself.
Especially
So
with the lack of funds that we have, it's definitely not happening.
exactly. Once again, maybe Dan Ashworth and these guys can actually make that happen, but they've not got the funds at their disposal in this window to actually make it happen. Maybe further down the line, maybe by the time January actually kicks in, we are in a better financial position and we can make a deal happen at that point of time. But I just think right now we can't really offload Wan-Bissaka. I think it creates another hole in that on that bench, because I would still say having Dalot and Wan-Bissaka both was immensely crucial for us last season, because at least we had two fit fullbacks to actually feature for us. But if Wan-Bissaka does end up leaving, we still have no update on Luke Shaw, if he'll ever be fit or not. Same goes for Malacia as well. If he is fit, if he is not fit, there is absolutely no update on him either. So even right now, the only two fit fullbacks at the club are Dalot and Wan-Bissaka. So we're not in a position to actually offload him, especially before we actually end up getting someone in. You can't bank on selling players and then actually going in to buy another player.
Yeah, I you know what, I like Wan-Bissaka. I think he offers something that no other right back does, in terms of he's one of the best defensive right backs one-on-one.
If you want to close down Shaw, if you're leading a 2-1 game, you want to close down Shaw, you bring him on and he's going to completely shut down right hand flank.
You're facing a team with a particularly sort of tricky winger or tricky left side forward. He did a job like we saw in the Carabao Cup final. Dalot was just getting torn apart by St-Maximin. You brought Wan-Bissaka and he shut that down. He shut down Grealish for City. He shut down Doku, and Doku had to switch sides.
The FA Cup,
he had to switch sides because he was just getting no joy. So, I think he's a really useful
player. Shut down Salah on the left side as well. Shut down Salah on the left flank as well.
I think he's a really useful player. I like the attributes he has. Obviously, it'd be great if he was better going forward, because I think Dalot improved tremendously in that aspect last season. I thought he was great. But yeah, I would keep hold of him. I think, like you said, there's more positions that are more urgent, and I think the attributes that he offers are really significant, and I think we can use them going forward, especially against teams who are going to come onto us. But we'll see what happens with that. I don't like the idea of losing him for free next summer. That does my head in, but yeah, we'll see what happens. Richard Hawkins, Aaron Wan-Bissaka is great one-on-one type defender, not so great at going forward, but improved last season. Yeah, I thought he did improve last season going forward. I thought he was better. Obviously, he's not Dalot levels, but I think he's better. Tom Heaton may be good on the coaching side, like Johnny Evans. Yeah, I think he's doing his coaching badges and all that sort of stuff. He's at the Euros, isn't he, coaching the goalies for England as well? So yeah, maybe that's what he does. My damn United, Varane and wages have just given us the power of funds on the books to buy 35-40 million players with our own, with amortization. We can spend more than we're letting on. I agree. I think it's kind of a smokescreen, kind of a lot of thing to sort of not have clubs overcharge us, which Everton is still clearly trying to do, which is why I don't know if we've permanently walked away from Branthwaite, but it seems like temporarily
it's still
we have.
Good move.
Yeah,
it's still a positive move from United's end, that if 70 million is going to be the case, we really don't want to negotiate further.
Yeah. And then final one on the outs. Manchester United want Jadon Sancho and Greenwood's departure to be completed before the squad return for pre-season on July the 8th, which is next Thursday, I think.
Yeah.
The club don't want either player back for pre-season, and neither players want to return. So, I mean, that says it all, doesn't it? Do you expect to see him leave before that deadline, Shreyas?
Greenwood might leave, because the one thing that I'm actually happy about with Greenwood is that there are genuinely a lot of clubs interested in signing him. You've got Juve, you've got Napoli also interested, you've got Lazio interested, Valencia, Atletico Madrid as well are interested in actually getting him in. So you've got a good chunk of clubs who are interested in getting Greenwood in, and if he allows us to get 40 million in, once again, that's pure profit. Sancho, I'm not sure whether we'll be able to offload him before pre-season kicks on.
Think he goes on loan again?
I don't know, because once again, if he does end up going on loan, doesn't really help United. It generally doesn't help United, because we need to offload him because we are in desperate need for funds. That's the major reason we are selling Greenwood, and that's the
And his
major.
wages
I think,
as well.
yeah, he is actually going to prove much more beneficial, I would say, in that aspect when it comes to wages than Greenwood, because being on 300 grand a week and then being sent out on loan again and again, it doesn't really help United. So I'm not sure as to which club might end up getting him, but I think the Sancho deal, I would say, is much more complicated in actually getting done, because I'm not heard a lot about any club being strongly linked to Jadon Sancho right now. And Dortmund isn't the location where he'll be going. Even if a deal gets finalized, Dortmund isn't going to be the
Yeah,
location.
they're not going to pay his wages, and they're not going to give us a fee for him either. So it's
Of course not. Of course
it's
not.
a thing. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's this week seems to be really, really like important in terms of incomings and outgoings for United. Like Jameson and Mattijis said, the 1st of July, everything's going to start kicking up a notch. So Ashworth come in now, and now everything's just. So I expect to see that like next couple of days, you're just going to see shit happening, and hopefully Greenwood and Sancho are ones that leave the club permanently. But yeah, we'll keep an eye on that story. The other part, Christopher Vivel, I hope I pronounced that right. I'm sorry if I've pronounced it wrong, is set to join Manchester United with the help of the club's recruitment. Vivel's arrival will be initially on a short-term basis to assist with the current transfer window, although extended stay has not been ruled out as United look to strengthen their football leadership and recruitment departments. I believe he's coming in as like director of recruitment or head of recruitment or something like that.
Yeah.
Then that's his title. Ralph Ragnick recommended Christopher Vivel Manchester United during his time at the club, so there you go. I like to listen to Ralph Ragnick, so if he speaks it,
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea. So Vivel, if you don't know it, he's had similar jobs in different clubs. I believe he's been at Chelsea. He's been at the RB group as well for Salzburg and Leipzig. Just a couple of talents that he identified, just to show his sort of talent identification. At Salzburg, he had Amadou Haidara, Dominic Szoboszlai, Karim Adeyemi, Erling Haaland, Benjamin Šeško, Minamino, and Naby Keita at Salzburg. And then at Leipzig, Josko Gvardiol, Angelino, Timo Werner, and Simakan. So young talent ID. This guy is good at. This is what he does, and this is what he
Not
knows.
even a single one of them have been targets that he's missed out on as well. Like
No.
every single one of them has worked. Every single one of them has worked
Exactly.
out.
So like this guy knows talent identification. This is what he's good at. And yeah, we saw obviously Dan Ashworth come in, and he's like I believe this was one of his first hires. As soon as he came in the door, he got him in. So it seems like we're Avengers assembling at this point. People are getting all the Infinity Stones. People are sorting out and stuff. Are you excited about like the fact that we're going to have a recruitment department who's actually competent of executing transfers and people who are experienced in this department? Like I've not experienced this yet. Like under Fergie, it was like Fergie and David Gill. They were the guys who did everything, and you just sort of trusted them to do it. I've never experienced this. Like, what do you think? Like, are you excited? Are you like, oh my god, like we're actually gonna do some bits here?
Yeah, it's actually exciting because for a change, and we probably can expect that the signings we are going to make are actually going to be working out, are actually going to be used in the team, and they'll be offering us certain qualities that we've expected previous players that we signed to actually bring in. And I think with United, I would say 30% of the signings, I would say post Sir Alex, 30% of the signings have worked, 70% have not worked. If we can, I would say even if we get it to like a 50-50 margin, we'll be in a much, much better position. Because I would still say with the way we've ended up signing players throughout this tenure, it's been superstar after superstar after superstar, immense wages, and it's just not been the way for us. It's genuinely not been the way for us. Maybe now that this body has come in, we go in for players we've not really heard of about that much, but they come in and end up becoming a sensation at United. And all of these players that you just mentioned, Adeyemi, Sesko, Simikan, Guardiol, they were all players people had not even heard about them even once, nothing at all. But they've come in, and whichever club they are at right now, they are probably the gems of their clubs.
Yes.
And once again, with Rangnick, I think when it came to the recruitment side of things, I think Rangnick was spot on with every single thing when it came to the certain players that he wanted to actually get United to actually go for. When it came to getting certain people in certain positions, when it came to the recruitment side of things, he was absolutely spot on.
Yeah. No, I agree. I'm excited by this. Like, we seem to be getting, like, we've been through Dan Ashworth's history and record before on this channel. We know what Jason Wilcox is about, and now we've got this guy in, and I've just sort of been through his talent identification. He's worked at Chelsea, he's worked at RB club, big clubs. So yeah, I'm really, really excited. I think your point is spot on. Like, we've been buying superstars and all that sort of stuff. What we've been basically doing is buying stuff to raise the roof when we've got no floor
Yeah,
whatsoever. We've got no foundations and no
exactly.
floor. We should be building the floor and building that up. And then once you have a foundation and a sort of level where you're like, okay, it's consistent, it's solid, then you can bring in those superstars. You can bring in those top gems to sort of expand the talent. We're
I
trying
think
to,
that's why Sancho really didn't work, because
yeah,
I would still say Sancho is a luxury player.
yes.
Like, when you've got your
Pogba,
entire unit
another one.
figured out, Pogba, luxury player once again. When you've got your entire foundation figured out, and you're one of those teams that are consistently around that fourth or fifth mark, and you want that player who can elevate you to
Yes.
that first or second position. That's where these sort of players come in. They are not the players who are going to be elevating you from eighth to sixth to fifth and fourth.
Mhm.
No, they are the finishing touches to a team.
Yeah.
And we've been getting in finishing touches, but till the time you don't really have your base sorted out, which we haven't, I would say, until at least Ten Hag came in and got Lissandro in, and was managed to, Casemiro in his first season as well. That's when I actually saw a foundation in this team actually working.
Yeah, and you've got, like, if you look, I hate to use Liverpool as the example, but it's true. They've bought smartly with players. Like, you got Andy Robertson, who they paid, like, I think 11, 12 million for. Mohamed Salah was like 30 odd million. Who's the midfielder? Like Wijnaldum, who was like
McAllister,
McAllister.
McAllister
Just
for
these
34.
type of players who cost not much, but would build that base and that spine of that team. And then obviously, why? Okay, we need to challenge for titles. Boom, get Allison in. Boom, get like
Yeah,
massive players, Van Dijk, like that
get Van Dijk in.
transform
Yeah,
the
yeah,
team
yeah, yeah,
into title challenges,
yeah.
into trophy winners. And we're not there yet. We need to build our space. We need to go find our Andy Robertsons. We need to go find our Georgie Wijnaldums. We need to find those players who are going to build the spine of the team. We've got a couple. We've got Lissandro and we've got Mainu and we've got people like that, but we need more of them. We need more of that type. And speaking of that type, Joshua Zirkzee.
Yep.
He's in the news at the minute. Apparently, there's a deal that's imminent at any point. There was a personal meeting between Erik ten Hag and Joshua Zirkzee's management in the recent days. This is from Florian Plettenberg. Man United have reached an agreement with Joshua Zirkzee's agent and convinced the player the role he can play under ten Hag. Manchester United have been in talks with Zirkzee's camp this week, discussing contract terms. United's board discussing internally about it. AC Milan still not giving green light on commissions. That is from Fabrizio Romano. Zirkzee seems like it's edging closer and closer. Again, 35 million release clause, 40 million euros, depending on how you want to put it. Probably not going to cost too much in wages, I imagine, because he's not that much. Bologna, he's young, he's 24, he's Dutch, which I suppose is an advantage under Ten Hag, but let's skim over that bit.
Yeah.
And he's going to come in. He's not going to demand the first team spot. This is not Ronaldo we're buying. This is not Haaland we're buying, where he's going to be like, no, I start. He's going to have to battle it out with Rasmus Højlund, which is what we needed all season. It seems like it's edging closer, Shreyas, and this is what we just talked about, like base of a team, a backup striker to compete with Højlund. What do you think? You happy with this? Like, it's slowly progressing?
Yeah, I think definitely it is. Once again, I think it's either going to be him or Ugarte who are going to be announced as the first signing, or whenever the first signing gets announced. Apart from that, I think we desperately needed another striker in this team. Him being young, him being a lot more different as a striker to Højlund actually works in our favor as well, because coming up against a low block, coming up against teams who like to play much more compact, he can be very, very instrumental against, in those teams. Maybe, he can actually come in and be able to, at least bring that fresh energy into that attacking line as well. And with Højlund being there, I think it can form a very good partnership, allows us to actually play a different way when it comes to moving into the final third. And maybe both of them, Højlund as well as Zirkzee end up actually elevating each other's levels. And
Yeah.
I don't think that both of them are going to have a problem with game time, because we are already playing like 50 to 55 games a season.
Yes.
So even if both of them don't play 50, I think both of them can easily get 30 to 35 appearances at least. Both of them, with the
You've
way
also
we
got
play games.
you've got Hoyland, who's got recurring back injury. Like, those type of injuries don't go away.
Yeah,
So obviously at the beginning of the season we didn't have him for like I think 7 or 8 games. So it'd be great. Like, it's like, oh, his back's flaring up. It's like, normally because he's the only guy, it'd be like, well, do you want to just play through the pain barrier?
yeah.
And then you end up risking an injury. Whereas if you got a
I think
backup
it works
striking,
perfectly for Ten Hag. It
yeah,
works
Zirkzee
because Ten
comes
Hag
in
isn't even the.
and
Yeah, yep.
he's
He's
like,
not
right, you
even.
rest, you Zirkzee, you come in, and the quality doesn't
Yeah.
drop, because when you put Rashford down the middle, you're just like, oh, for fuck's sake, this is just going to end. It's
It's not.
terrible.
It's not workable. It's not workable with Rashford, and I think with Erik Ten Hag as well. He's not the sort of manager who likes to play with the same players, like the same
Yes.
11 players for the entire 90 minutes. He always makes changes around that 60 or 65th minute mark. He
Yeah.
likes to get a couple different players on. So Zirkzee allows him to, use that option. A different striker coming on for the last 20 to 30 minutes. Maybe it's him, maybe it's Hoyland, but at least we'll have an out and out striker who's going to be coming in, rather than having to ship Bruno as a false nine or
Yeah.
Rashford as a striker, or going with Garnacho and Rashford up top just to have that pace and, throwing the kitchen sink at, at opponents, or just allowing McTominay to crash the box. Much better to have Zirkzee than
Yeah.
all of those alternatives.
Absolutely. Absolutely. A couple of comments, and we'll get into the final story, which you've probably all been waiting for because it's just everywhere on Twitter in a minute. With Sancho, it's not the wages or the agency, it's the recruitment of the guy who has to get him out of bed for training every day. Yeah, that is true. Joshua Nazare, Sancho's a good player, but he failed to match United's system of play. I think there's a point to that, and I understand the extent of that, but I don't think that's totally it. I think good players fit into systems of play and they make themselves available. He just doesn't. His mentality's not there. Like, unless the whole team is functioning completely and really well, Sancho is not a player who's going to work for you. He's not gonna guy who's gonna get in the trenches and just work. He's just not that guy.
He needs a very well-rounded team who stays on the ball.
Yes,
For a team that loves to press, for a team that involves
not
the
gonna do it.
wingers to have a lot of work rate, it's not going to work out.
My damn United, really excited about Zirkzee possibly. I hope we can get it done. Positive noises, so fingers crossed. Absolutely. Chiara, Zirkzee, decent buy for 35 million. I agree. I think it's a good option. I know we're all shopping in, not a bargain bin, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we haven't got much money and
Yeah,
stuff, but this is where we are. I know people are like, oh, he's only this, blah, blah. But like, this is where we are because of the Glazers, the way they've run the club into the ground. This is where we're at. We have to do this in order to keep going. Otherwise, it's nobody. So it's just like, you have to shop accordingly. Like, and this is where we're at.
Yeah.
Right, final story. Oh shit! Netherlands just almost scored. Right. Mattijis De Ligt. Mattijis De Ligt has given the green light to join Manchester United after direct contacts with his camp. Personal teams are not an issue as his agent Pimenta is only negotiating with United. It's the priority for the player. United and Bayern Munich are in talk over the deal structure. United are the only club in contact with Mattijis De Ligt, and his agent is given priority to United and wants to move. This is Fabrizio Romano. Ben Jacobs has also said initial talks between United and Bayern Munich Mattijis De Ligt are framed around a £34 million package, which is 40 million euros, I believe. Manchester United believe they're making in progress in terms to Simon Taste De Ligt. That's from Simon Stone in the BBC. And Graham Bailey, Mattijis De Ligt to United is progressing. There's a very good chance the deal happens. Manchester United scouting department like Mattijis De Ligt as a player and a person. He would also be willing to take a pay cut to join Man United. He earns around 15 million a year at Bayern. United would likely offer below 12 million a year. He's still open to the move. Erik ten Hag pushed to sign him. Bayern are very open to the sale. United's opening offer was around 40 million euros. Bayern initially wanted more than 50, but are now willing to let him go for 50 million, including add-ons and a potential sell-on clause. It seems like this one's heating up. Shreyas, it's come out of nowhere. Like, we had Branthwaite, Yoro, maybe a bit of Yoro. Do we go back in for Branthwaite? And all of a sudden, boom, Mattijis De Ligt, and it's advancing really, really fucking quickly. We spoke a lot about De Ligt. I think me, you, and Nick did, and we like weighed up the pros and cons. I know you're slightly more in the con category, because of your concerns of him playing next to Lisandro Martinez. If he came in as a a back. Say we sold like a Lindelof and Maguire and he came in as like a backup, and we got somebody else to play next to Lissandro. Would you be happier with that? Would he if he was like
He'd never come as a backup. He'd never come as a
but
backup.
if we're
The
rotating
only
centre backs, because obviously Lissandro's injury concerns
I
and
know,
stuff like
I
that.
know, I know. But once again, I think if he comes in, he's going to be a sure shot starter week in, week out. That's the way he actually comes in, because this is the major reason why he's actually leaving Bayern, because he's not a sure shot starter week in and week out. I think once again, the only problem I have is whether he'll work out with Lissandro or not. Apart from that, as a player, I don't really doubt his quality as much. I've seen him at Ajax. I've seen him in Bayern as well. I think he's definitely got the potential to be one of the most decorated centre backs in the coming years. And apart from that as well, like we mentioned, players who've got a very strong mentality, players who've got that leadership quality in him as well. We've seen it ever since he's been a 17-year-old centre back playing for playing for Ajax. He's got those traits in him. He's definitely got those traits in him. Maybe having Erik ten Hag actually helps him out a lot better into fitting into the team. And if the price being mentioned around is around 45 million or 50 million, and he's coming in as a cheaper alternative to Branthwaite, I think United will definitely scoop him up.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. It has heated up really, really quickly. Yeah, I've just seen something there. Where's it gone? From Christian Falk, who's like the Bayern, the correspondent. PSG have contacted Bayern Munich to express their interest in Mattijis De Ligt, providing competition for Manchester United. So yeah, I do not want to go to this point where it's a bidding war for Mattijis De Ligt. I don't need this in my life.
Absolutely
I really
not.
don't
Absolutely
need this in my
not.
life.
We're not in that position either.
No, like if PSG want to pay a shit ton of money for him, let him have him, and let's just go to somebody else, because I don't want to be like, oh, we'll do 45, we'll do 50. It just doesn't seem like something that I want to do. Netherlands are still 1-0. We've got Turkey and Austria. Obviously, Ralf Ragnick coming up at 8 o'clock. Who are you going for, Shreyas, out of Turkey? Austria all the way?
They've been playing phenomenal football throughout the years. Like, genuinely, they've been playing phenomenal football. Ten Hag, Ragnick has actually, the way he's using Sabitzer in that team.
Yeah.
Sabitzer has been absolutely class for them.
Baumgartner as well.
Yeah. They've been genuinely absolutely amazing. Were very unlucky against France. Should have won that game.
Yes.
Got the good result against Netherlands as well. Managed to top that group, having France and Netherlands in that team. So, and Turkey, very inconsistent. They do have some genuine ballers in their team with Kalinoglu. They've got Arda Güler as well, who are very, very decent players and can cause you troubles. But I think overall, as a team, Austria have been playing phenomenal football.
Yeah, no, I really, really like the two teams, because England are fucking terrible. The two teams I've really enjoyed is Georgia and Austria. Like, I've really liked watching both of those teams. And unfortunately, now Georgia are out, so I'm going to go with Austria. And yeah, I think they get the job done against Turkey. Like I said, Turkey have got a couple of good players, but I think Austria's system, their press, their relentlessness of how they like plaster the ball around, I think they'll pretty much get the job done. Joshua has said, update us on a Branthwaite deals and Michael Elise. Elise has gone to Bayern Munich, mate. It's a done deal. It's over.
Chelsea are apparently trying to hijack the deal.
Of course they are.
But
of course they are.
I think he's not coming to United.
No, he's not
coming
to United.
In the perspective, Branthwaite might end up sticking at Everton. I think he might end up sticking at Everton if Everton are going to stay rigid at that 70 million price tag. Nobody is going to be coming in for Branthwaite.
I think if they're not willing to come down even a little bit on that price tag, I think United just end up going for somebody else if they are going to pay two centre backs. But yeah, I like Branthwaite, I do, but 70 million is ridiculous. It's fucking ridiculous for that. But can't blame Everton, can you? Like, it's a top talent. They're going to want as much money as possible, so you can't really blame them. But yeah, I think that's it. Unless anybody's got any questions, drop them in the chat before we wrap up. Yeah. Thanks for coming on, Shreyas. Appreciate the assist as always. Check out Nick's review on the Dan Ashworth thing that he filmed in Amsterdam. It's on the channel at the minute. Go check that out. It's just a short little video. He will be back tomorrow as well. So he'll be back on his things. You don't have to listen to me ramble on and stumble over my words. But I will be on the shows as always. Follow all the socials. We're on TikTok. We're on Twitter. We're on Instagram. It's growing every day. It's really, really good. We're trying to get on a couple of guests in the next couple of weeks as well. I think James from Mattijis wants to come on, so we'll get him on because he's always welcome to come on. Jay from Stratford Paddock, we're going to get him on again because it's always fun to hear, and we're updating a couple of other people. Any update on Malacia? Is he alive? He is alive. I've seen him. He is alive. I don't know if he's injured still. I don't know what his status is on his injury, but he is alive. He definitely is alive. I need Kevin Damso. I don't know. Do you know Kevin Danso?
Kevin Danso. I think he plays for Lens.
I'll have to look at him. I don't know that guy, but yeah, I'll look into him. Thank you everybody for watching. Thank you for Shreyas for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace.
Yeah. See ya.